Hey, welcome to the podcast Between Two Cabins. I am your host, Jim Butler, also known as Pepall Graybeard. It is a Friday evening in Bowling Green. The weather's starting to change a little bit. I'm getting excited for the cooler temperatures. Fall's coming up. I cannot wait to start hiking more once the weather cools down. Uh, my wife and I are getting ready to go out to Yellowstone soon and the Tetons. It'll be my first time going out there, and I am so excited and I cannot wait. I hope to do some hiking out there, look at wildlife, and maybe, just maybe, I could see a Bigfoot. That's what this podcast is all about today, Bigfoot. Now, there's a lot of people out there that are very skeptic about Bigfoot, and I'm on the fence about it. I had Bigfoot T-shirts, I had Bigfoot hats. I watch all the Bigfoot shows on TV. I have a Bigfoot car freshener in my car. I have Bigfoot keychains. I have Bigfoot just about anything. A do rag, you know. But I have never seen a Bigfoot, and frankly, I've never experienced any kind of uh, Bigfoot sightings, or I haven't seen footprints. I haven't seen, any weird noises while I've, been in the backcountry hiking and stuff. But it's a very interesting subject when you're talking about Bigfoot. Back in 1958, uh, originally in California somewhere, there was footprints spotted in a lumber jack area, where they were doing lumber, cutting lumber. And then that's how they got the name Bigfoot, because there was big prints of a foot in the mud. And the lumberjacks were noticing it. The media was called, what's making these big feet? And then that's where the word Bigfoot has come to grow, uh, you know, in the U.S. and around the world now. A lot of places he's called Sasquatch, you know. Some places he's called Yeti, you know what I mean? But Bigfoot is more of a folklore, it sounds like. The more I dig into it, the more I uh, see a lot of shows about it. Back in the times where the Indians, there was a lot of cave drawings that had a Bigfoot type creature on them. Uh, I don't know. I'm on the fence about it. There could be something out there. I just don't know. I mean, the the vastness of the woods in the U.S., Alaska, Canada, and everywhere else in the world. Who knows what's out there? You know what I mean? I kind of wish there was a Bigfoot, but nobody is finding any kind of body. Rarely they find any traces of hair, and rarely on the trail cams and all this other stuff, they don't see nothing. So, is it just a big hoax altogether? I don't know. My family, like I said, makes fun of me because I believe in Bigfoot, but I'm really kind of on the edge right now. Uh, I know back in biblical times there was giants, but I mean, is this an offspring of somebody that was in the Bible? I don't know. I don't know. One day when I get to heaven, I'm going to ask God, is there a Bigfoot? Yes or no? But until then, I'm going to be skeptic. You know, I see a lot of photos that you can tell has been doctored, photoshopped. people in suits. The biggest film that I have seen took place in October 20th, 1967, the Patterson Gremlin film. Now, that lasted for over a minute where they filmed supposedly a female Sasquatch cutting through a creek or something going up in the woods. Now, if you want to get on YouTube or anywhere, Google it, look at that film that they made and, be your own judge. I mean, I just don't know. You know what I mean? I would like to think it would be cool to have a Bigfoot, finding one, but I just don't know. Like I said, I'm skeptic about it. I have fun with it. A few times I've knocked on trees with a log to see if I can get one to communicate with me. I never got a response back. Camping in the backcountry, especially at Mammoth Cave, you hear a lot of weird noises. But it's probably coyotes and animals like that. I don't hear any crazy looking howling noises that I've heard recordings of. Supposedly it was a Bigfoot howling. You know what I mean? I haven't heard any of those yet out in the woods, camping in the backcountry. But when you're out there hiking in the middle of nowhere, you do kind of, look over your shoulder every once in a while and see if you see anything. Or if you're laying there in your tent or hammock or whatever, you're sleeping in the backcountry, sometimes your mind starts wandering. What if Bigfoot comes up and grabs my hammock and starts shaking me and stuff, and I fall out of my hammock? You know what I mean? But there's just been so much folklore in Bigfoot. The Indians talked about it. Some Bigfoots left gifts for people after they left them food. They would come back and find rocks and twigs. It's amazing. A lot of photos of supposedly Bigfoot are bears standing on their hind legs, or it could be people dressed in like I said, some kind of ape suit, or it could be somebody getting a photo from a distance, because when you're looking in a distance at an object, it looks way different than it does close up. So that's why some people may think it's a Bigfoot. You know what I mean? I've read countless stories of people driving down the road and seeing something cross in front of them. They can't figure out what it is. A lot of sightings in the northwest of the United States. Oregon, Washington, Northern California. There's a lot of sightings up there, supposedly. A lot of people think they migrate sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, do they migrate from the United States to Canada to Alaska? What do they do? What do they eat? I don't know. They say Bigfoot like sleeps in some kind of a nest. I've seen pictures of nests that were built. I don't know if they were built by humans or whatever they were. Supposedly they sleep in these nests. And then you get pictures of trees that are turned upside down and drove in the ground. How did they get like that? I don't know. So there's a lot of things up in the air about proving if it is Bigfoot or not. There's been movies made about it. One of the funny movies I saw growing up was called Harry and the Hendersons, when the guy hits Bigfoot and then puts him in his car and takes him home, and he wakes up and becomes friends with the family and practically destroys the guy's house anytime he walks or moves. So I always thought that movie was pretty funny. Great movie. It's very funny. But can you imagine being out in the woods in the backcountry and seeing something that you can't explain? You get this deep pit in your stomach and you're scared. It's like, my gosh, I am out in the middle of nowhere, but I see something that I really don't know what it is. And now that we got so much modern technology now with our cell phones and GoPros and drones and stuff, how come we have not found a clear enough picture, some kind of bones, body or something, of a Bigfoot? There is a Bigfoot out there. I don't know. And I want people to send in your comments after you watch this podcast. I would love to hear them, and I would like to hear your opinion about it. If there is a Bigfoot, then Jesus has already died for him too, or her. So, it would be interesting to see if there really is, and is there evidence that we're not being shown that is top secret about Bigfoots? You know what I mean? A lot of people think they have something to do with UFOs. I don't really know much about that. You know what I mean? The evidence I like to read up on is, people seeing the Bigfoot, or where they come into camp. I've read stories where when Bigfoot don't want you around, he starts throwing rocks at your camp. And I saw one episode of a Bigfoot special where these fishermen were in a remote cabin where you can only get there by plane. And at night, they were getting bombardment with rocks because supposedly a Bigfoot did not want them in the area. Now, when they first got to the cabin, they found a lot of hair on some of the boards that supposedly was Bigfoot hair, but come to find out, this is bear. You know what I mean? And I really don't know the thing about the rocks. Why is the rocks being thrown? Is it really? Is it somebody just playing a trick and throwing rocks on top of a cabin? I don't know. Maybe it is. You know what I mean? There was instances where somebody had cut a big foot out with wood and was making footprints, and then they had the media involved saying there was a Bigfoot, and they came out later and said, I just made the prints with a wooden pattern, So there's questions that hasn't been answered yet on Bigfoot, and there's a lot of things that people can't explain. I read a lot of things on Facebook on the Kentucky Bigfoot website on Facebook, and I really enjoy how they do searches in Kentucky and stuff like that. That's awesome. There's been a lot of Bigfoot spotted in, I think, the Red River Gorge area in Kentucky. It seems like in every county in Kentucky, there has been some kind of Bigfoot sighting or something. I saw a website where they had every county listed in Kentucky. So there was always a sighting in every county. Some kind of a thing happened. I mean, it could have been years ago, it could have been recently, but in every county in Kentucky, someone saw Bigfoot supposedly. So I don't know. It's an interesting thing to think about. Is Bigfoot real, or is it just folklore made up from centuries? There's been so many articles written where trappers had come across ape-like hairy giants. But I mean, were they drinking or something? Were they sauced when they think they saw Bigfoot? I don't know. I mean, some of the stories you get about it, it's hard for me to believe them. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it's hilarious. But I would like to hear your opinions and comments about this. So I encourage you on Between Two Cabin Podcasts, please give us your comments and opinions. I would love to hear them and respond back if I can. I always like hearing other people's stories about things, and even if you have a Bigfoot story, I would love to hear it. I think that's awesome to be able to experience a neat thing that people's experience and hear the story about it. I would love that. I think it'd be awesome. I went to a Bigfoot conference one time here in Bowling Green that the library put on. It was interesting. The gentleman had some cast footprints, and they were pretty good size, you know. And he talked about how he goes about searching for Bigfoot, the different techniques he uses. They stay out in the woods a lot at night, you know. I don't know. I'm a hiker, and I like going hiking, and I like going in the back country, and it is peaceful sleeping at night for the most part. I mean, you hear coyotes and, you know, stuff like that, but being out in the woods at night is peaceful to me. Uh, we hike on the Appalachian Trail a lot, and it's very peaceful out in the back country, and it's really dark too. I mean, there's no lights around, so you know, if the moon's not out, it's just pitch black, you know. And you know, I've read stories of, they say Bigfoot's on the Appalachian Trail. They say Bigfoot's in the Smoky Mountains. You know, there's a lot of rumors and stories going around. Supposedly in the '60s that a hiker was supposedly got kidnapped by Bigfoot. I don't know. There's a story out there. You can look it up if you want. There's just so much out there, you know, and it's hard to really believe if there is a Bigfoot or not. I don't know. Like I said, I'm on the fence about it. I really enjoy telling my family that I like Bigfoot, but they just grin at me and, you know, and stuff like that, and said, "Yeah, you're silly, Dad." But it's fun to me. They buy me T-shirts. I love Bigfoot T-shirts. I had Bigfoot hats. Like I said, I got pins, and I enjoy that. It's fun. You know what I mean? And I joke around with my grandkids sometimes, and you know, "Papa, do you think there's a Bigfoot?" And I say, "Yes," and they go, "No, there's not. There's not a Bigfoot." But I like cutting up with them about it and stuff. It's pretty fun, you know. But I don't know. I don't know what I would do if I was hiking in the back country and all of a sudden this big 7, 8 foot tall hairy guy jumps out behind a tree. I would probably pee my pants. I don't know. It's just, I mean, they have to be intelligent if there isn't any. They avoid cameras. I don't know. Like I said, I'm on the fence about it. But I would like to see proof. And right now, there's not enough proof to say whether there is a Bigfoot or not. But like I said, I would love to hear your comments, your opinions, your stories about Bigfoot. What do you think? Is Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, is he real? I don't know. But I'm eager to hear more testimonies, eager to see better pictures, better recordings of howling, you know. A lot of people say they when they encounter a Bigfoot down the woods, they smell it like it smells of an old wet dog or a skunk that's been rolled around in dead meat. They said, you know, some people say they have black fur, red fur, gray fur. Probably the Yeti probably got a whitish fur since, you know, the Yeti's been spotted in more locations that have snow. way up in the mountains. So it's hard to say. It's like the big abominable snowman on Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Supposedly that guy was a Yeti, but he was all hairy, but he had blue mouth and blue feet and hands. I don't know. It's kind of funny. I mean, if Bigfoot was real and they mingled among us in society, can you imagine the shoe sales for Nike? I mean, these shoes would be huge. And I really like the beef jerky commercials about messing with Sasquatch. Them are hilarious. That's so funny. I think it's very comical where people come out and do stuff like that. It's really funny. But like I said, I'm kind of skeptic about Bigfoot. I don't know for sure, but I have a lot of good time talking about it. And when I hike, I do look for footprints, just to see. I'm curious. You know what I mean? Like one time, I made a fake print in the snow and took a picture and sent it to my wife Amy when I was out hiking. And said, "Look what I found." She goes, "You did not. You made it." I said, "Yeah, I did. I made it." But it was still fun when you see a, size 15 print in the snow, and you think, "Wow, Bigfoot's real." I'll tell you, your imagination can get rolling out there. If you, I used to hike a lot at night, and most of the time I wore headphones to listen to music. But sometimes your imagination gets away from you, and you start seeing things, and you start wondering, and most of the time I just turn up my music and keep going. And I pray to the good Lord that He watches over me while I'm out hiking, and I don't get jumped by Bigfoot or anybody. But that's another story. But like I said, I'm on the fence about it. I don't know what you think. Send me your comments and stories and opinions. I appreciate it. And thanks for joining me tonight on Between Two Cabins. I'm your host, Jim Butler, and I hope you have a blessed weekend. I'll see you next time.